Hey everyone, this is a topic that I'm really excited about and I've wanted to do it a long time ago. You would have probably seen from my videos that I generally buy all my designer goods at a discounted price, anywhere from 10 to 60% off mint condition, and I've purposely skimmed over the details regarding how I've done it because I wanted to spend proper time to actually focus on this topic and explain my strategy, my tactics, and the options available clearly to you. Today I want to break this topic up into three main categories: general strategy of what you need to know before you even get started, actual tangible tips for when you're buying online, and also for when you're buying overseas. As always, I really want to thank my subscribers for your support and for being so patient because I'm such a slow uploader. I wouldn't be putting all this time and effort into my videos without the love that I feel from you guys, so thank you so much for being so awesome. I'm an architect and I've never studied business in any sense, but I'm pretty certain that a real struggle in life is that you can't have both time and money. You have to prioritize one and lose out on the other. When it comes to designer goods, this means that a seller can only expect to get the best, highest price for their listing if they're willing to wait a while for the perfect cashed up buyer to come along who really wants the item. Otherwise, if a seller wants to get rid of a listing faster and not wait a year or several years, they will have to lower the price. What this means for you as a buyer is that if you're looking for a bargain, which means your priority is money, then never buy from a seller who's comfortable waiting, because that means their priority is also money. You as a buyer have the upper hand when you identify a seller whose priority is time, and because they want to sell urgently, they're willing to accept a lower price. My real life example of this is my vintage Chanel lambskin backpack, which I bought for mint condition for $2,500 instead of the full price $4,600. I spent 2 years looking for this bag, but I identified a seller who was in a desperate financial situation and who was willing to accept any sizable sum because she couldn't afford to wait anymore. She knew what this bag was worth, that it was far more than what I offered, but again, this is time versus money. When I'm looking for a particular luxury item, as long as it's mint condition, I'm willing to vary the leather type, the hardware color, the size, depending on the best price that pops up. The more options you are willing to accept, the higher your chance of grabbing a bargain. My real life example for this is my Balenciaga Lady bag, which I scored for $650 instead of $1,000. It's real value when it's mint condition secondhand. I adore this style and I really wanted it in a brown color because I currently do not own any brown bags, but I compromised and I got it in mustard because I identified a seller that wanted a quick sale, and as a result she was willing to negotiate the price lower. This only applies to pre-loved items, but another way to be flexible is to accept signs of use and look for a listing where the location of the wear and tear doesn't bother you. This means you are entitled to a discount from the seller without the item looking compromised when you wear it. My real life example for you is my Bulgari B01 watch, which I have been eyeing for a very long time. If you have watched my designer jewelry and accessories video, you would know totally what this is about. This watch is exactly the same price as other listings which had scratches all over the face and bangle, even though this watch is completely flawless in those areas. So why exactly is that? It's because here the only visible scratches are at the back of the bezel, which is where you take the battery out. And this was absolutely perfect for me. This means that I'm buying the watch at a discounted price, but when I wear it, not a single person can tell it's even pre-loved. It looks new from every angle. The scratches are hidden against my skin. I got this watch for $1,200, also because I paired it with 2 discount codes, which I will explain later in this video. The recommended retail price is towards $3,000. Of course, some items you don't want to compromise on, and I totally understand that. In that case, it's important to be patient and understand that a well-priced, mint condition item may only arise after a year or more of waiting. For example, for me, the only Valentino rock studs I wanted had to be patent red. And as a result, I waited almost 2 years before I could find one that was mint condition in my size in exactly that color. I got these for $750 because of 2 discount codes I was able to apply on eBay. The seller themselves was offering 10% off because they had waited a while and no one had come forward, and simultaneously eBay was offering 20% off because of an anniversary event. So together I got 30% or 40% if you consider the recommended retail price for shoes in perfect condition of this style. Being patient and waiting several months or even years for your purchase also means you get a better sense of timing and understanding at what points in the year do providers offer special events or deals which you can take advantage of. Especially if the item you're after is from a classic range that is always available and it's not bespoke, there's really no rush to get it straight away. Waiting a few months means you can take advantage of a 10% site-wide sale, for example. If you're well versed in the news, which I'm not, but fortunately my husband is and he keeps me updated, then timing also presents opportunities for bargains. As an example of this, late last year, Amazon announced that they were coming to Australia. And then instantly, for months after that announcement, eBay Australia just kept offering discount codes after discount codes as a way to stay competitive and relevant before Amazon launches itself in the market. So even though I had my eye on a vintage Chanel and vintage Dior earrings since about 8 months ago, I did not purchase them until eBay went into that huge competitive frenzy, because all of a sudden I could get these earrings at about 20% off. There's another benefit to being a patient buyer, and that is educating yourself to understand the marketplace. I mentioned this in my how to buy designer bags video, that in the months or years it takes for you to wait for your bargain listing, use that time wisely and educate yourself regarding exactly what your item is worth, depending on the level of condition it's in, whether it comes with packaging, receipt, etc. Negotiating with the seller is a huge part of grabbing a bargain, which is my next point, but you can't negotiate if you don't understand exactly what the average price is, what's an above average price to pay, and what's the below, which is obviously what you're targeting for. The benefit to you acquiring this knowledge is that the second a bargain listing is listed, you know straight away, while other interested buyers are spending hours or days to confirm that yes, it is a good price, yes, it's in a good condition. You already know that, so you would have pounced on the listing and proceeded to pay. Bargain listings get taken very quickly, so you need to act with confidence, and confidence only comes from you understanding the marketplace. My real life example for you is when I scored my classic Chanel double flap in mint condition with all the packaging and the receipt for $2,200, even though there were 17 other interested buyers within the first day it was listed. So if you want the full story, check out my Chanel video. Whenever you're dealing with a private or small scale seller and not an established boutique, never think the price is fixed. My rule is that even if the listing is written as non-negotiable, I'm still going to negotiate. You don't lose anything from trying. Generally, sellers are very professional and accommodating. I think I've only ever had one seller who was completely sick of me and just wanted me to pay and go away. So going back to my first point, it was all about identifying whether a seller's priority is time or money, and you often can't do that without reaching out to them. If you find out that your seller's priority is money and that they're willing to wait, but you, with your knowledge of the market, feel that the price they're asking for is rather unrealistic, I recommend leaving them your contact details and asking them to get in touch if they change their mind. This worked successfully for me when I scored my mint condition vintage Chanel Jumbo for $2,500 instead of $4,500, which the seller wanted. It took me 6 months, but it was absolutely worth it when the seller finally messaged me. If you want the full story of how I got my hands on this, check out my Chanel video. If the seller's priority is time, that's when you start negotiating, because now you know that they're willing to lower the price. I have a full range of tips which I'll cover in my buying online section. In Australia, we have an online community of bargain hunters who share news of sales and deals, and it's regulated, so only the best deals receive a lot of attention, so you don't waste your time and energy. I don't know the equivalent of this overseas, but I do highly recommend you do your research and join one of these forums, because this means that whenever any sort of sale appears, you know about it. My husband is absolutely obsessed with this site, and even though not every single deal is relevant to luxury purchases, so it might be Bose headphones, it might be a Dyson vacuum, plane tickets, but it does mean that when it is relevant, such as eBay, Matches Fashion, Net-a-Porter, I absolutely know about it. As frightening as targeted advertising is, it's also incredibly useful if you're bargain hunting. Because of my social media posts and my online shopping, I now get really accurate suggested for you Facebook advertisements, and I'm instantly informed if there is any sort of clearance sale, warehouse sale or outlet for any luxury label in Sydney. In the early days, I used to only get notified if one of my friends had interacted with the event, but now Facebook has just found me and I'm getting inundated. I haven't had time to do a video on this topic, but because of this, I bought a whole range of beautiful designer clothes for up to 60% off. As an example of this, I scored my Aquazura Wild Things Block Heel sandals, brand new, for $380 compared to the recommended retail price of $700. If you ever do attend any of these events, it makes a huge difference for you to arrive the moment it opens on the first day, because as a general rule, all the best items are gone by the end of the first day. And also, it's good for you to find out beforehand whether there's any credit card surcharge, because it's very easy for you to spend more than $500, and so a 3% surcharge does make a difference, and it's best for you to avoid. So bring some cash instead. We're almost at the end of the general tips section. So for those of you who are especially interested in buying vintage, try to score your designer item before it's revived in fashion, because then suddenly everyone's interested in it and the price will double or triple because of the increased demand, the increased number of buyers, which gives your seller an advantage over you. My real life example of this is what happened to my vintage Chanel backpack. So have a look at my Chanel video if you want to see what happened. Before I launch into my actual tangible tips, I want to quickly discuss a few disclaimers so you're aware of the pricklier side of bargain hunting. First, as I've discussed in my how to buy designer bags video, there are plenty of options on where to buy, ranging from your Chanel boutique through to Net-a-Porter to long-standing eBay sellers through to absolute amateurs who are using the app Carousel. The reason why you may not walk straight to your Dior boutique or long-standing luxury online seller is because you want to save money. However, there is a proportional relationship between money and risk. And the more money you want to save, the more risk you have in likely encountering a counterfeit. Everyone's appetite for risk is different. Everyone will research their purchases and sellers to a different degree in order to feel comfortable and confident moving forward with a purchase. I don't want to force that decision on anyone. You may find that bargain hunting puts you far outside your comfort zone and it's not something you want to pursue, and that's totally fair. In my how to buy designer bags video, I do give tips on how to check the reputability of small scale sellers and also why it is that you can get a bigger saving from small scale sellers, so I won't repeat that information here. My last disclaimer is that if you want to save money, think long term. Especially if you're buying pre-loved, you may think that an item which shows more signs of use is a more affordable option than one which is in mint condition. However, keep in mind that if it requires repairs or cannot be repaired, you won't be making a saving in the end. Especially with working items like watches, there is a big difference between a working watch that just needs a battery change compared to one which is broken and missing parts. As I've mentioned in my Chanel video, some luxury brands cannot guarantee that they always have spare parts available, so the verdict might be that your item just cannot be repaired. In Australia, we have a Cashback website where there is a whole directory of online suppliers, and you get a certain percentage of the amount you've spent back as cash. Generally, you get the money back straight away, although some suppliers can take up to 90 days. And this money just accumulates in that online account until you wish to withdraw it. I don't know the international equivalent of this, but I presume it should probably exist in most countries. Make sure you install the plugin if it's available. This means that the program is always active and always running in the background. So when you're browsing, you get instantly notified if a site can offer you some cash back. This is much easier than you manually going to their website and searching their directory, which you often forget to do. I did not know about this. It was my husband who introduced me to it. Savings can range from pet stores to groceries to, of course, fashion houses and eBay, which concern us. Percentages will change over time depending on how much the supplier wants to attract buyers. Currently, it's a 6.4% from Neiman Marcus and 4.8% Net-a-Porter. This may not seem like much, but it can be stacked together with a whole range of other savings, which I'm about to mention. So this is step 1. This is again thanks to my savvy husband. He always keeps a firm eye on credit card sign-up promotional offers, and we always cancel the card the moment we've fulfilled the criteria and we've received all the rewards. So a really good sign-up offer would be something like 100,000 flying points, airport lounge passes, no annual fee for the first year. So you really have nothing to lose. All you have to do is spend a certain amount within a time span, for example, the first 3 months. My husband and I, we always keep a wish list of what we want and need, and as long as it's not urgent, we just wait until we have a new credit card with a spending requirement, and then we bulk buy everything and we get rewarded for it. I do recommend you cancel by the end of the year, because otherwise in your second year you do have to pay the annual fee. And by you cancelling the card, it means you're eligible when that promotion pops up again a year or 2 down the track, because you're not currently their customer. Linked to the above, if you're making large purchases, make sure you're getting rewarded for it and you have a credit card with a good points reward system. As proof that it is worth your time and effort, my husband and I are both flying business class from Sydney to Rome later this year, and 90% of our ticket was all done via free points. So that was easily more than a $10,000 saving. Doing your research and seeing whether you can buy a luxury item online from the country it originates can make a huge price difference. Beware that many international websites are programmed to prevent you from accessing this information. So for example, it can detect your location in the world and may continuously redirect you to your country's website instead of you accessing the country of origin's website. Or even if you are successful in gaining access to the cheaper country's pricing, they may not deliver to your home address because it's overseas. An example where I have been successful was when I found the website for an Italian sunglasses supplier, Ottica.net. I managed to get these Dolce & Gabbana flower sunglasses for only $400, which was an incredible saving, and these are brand new in perfect condition. It does show you what an immense discount you can get. Buy Italian sunglasses from a competitive Italian supplier compared to these sunnies going through Australian customs and having a huge markup at my local department store. I'm going to spend some time to talk about eBay, but I do understand if some of you don't feel comfortable using that platform. As I've mentioned earlier, eBay will have special discount codes timed with events. For example, 15% off site-wide to celebrate their 15th birthday. 2019 is their 20th birthday, so I do hope they deliver on that. Like most websites, you can only use one discount code at a time. However, if you're dealing with a small private seller on eBay instead of institutions like Net-a-Porter, you can get creative and ask your seller to split one large listing into smaller multiple listings so that you can use multiple discount codes in separate transactions. My example for when I did this was when I scored my vintage 1960s Dior crystal earrings. I had 2 discount codes, each entitling me to $10 off, i.e. $20 total, but I could not use it together. So I asked my seller to split a pair of earrings into two separate listings, one for the left, one for the right, one with shipping, one without shipping, so I could get $10 off each of them separately, and they weren't losing out on anything on their end. Earlier, I recommended that you reach out to your seller, and this is also so you can possibly suggest settling the payment outside of eBay through PayPal. This means that you get your buyer's protection. If you read PayPal's terms and conditions, you should always check that. And the seller doesn't have to pay 10% in eBay fees, which is usually a saving they're willing to pass on to you. Note that eBay regularly monitors for this type of activity, so you need to get your seller's contact details on a different platform, for example their mobile number or WhatsApp, suggested outside of eBay to make sure they don't get penalized, because they can get banned for that. eBay doesn't allow exchange of emails. Note, however, this means you won't be able to use any of eBay's promotional discount codes, so you have to decide where you're going to get the bigger saving. Delivery costs is another area where you can make savings, and you only know what's achievable after you reach out to your seller. If they live in the same city, you can suggest that you will pick it up yourself when you drive by that area. The seller can usually hold onto your item after payment, so that gives you flexibility in terms of time. If the seller is overseas, I often tell them that I have all the time in the world to wait. So all of a sudden my $100 1 to 2 business day delivery gets downgraded to a $20 1-month delivery by ship, and I'm perfectly fine for that. Another option to saving on expensive international delivery costs is asking your seller to hold onto the item after payment, and then you wait until your family or friends are holidaying in that country. Then you ask the seller to mail the item domestically to their temporary hotel address, after which they will carry it onto the plane and carry it back to your country through customs. Sort of like the legal luxury version of a drug mule, I guess. I was about to do this to get my hands on my vintage Chanel backpack from Japan, but fortunately I ended up not needing to, and that's in my Chanel video. When you're buying an item from an overseas seller, you must understand your country's customs import tax threshold. I've mentioned before in my videos that for Australia it's $1,000. However, it has been rumoured that from 1st July this year, the tax will apply to all online shopping of any amount. If for some reason this doesn't go ahead, which is definitely preferable, usually online sellers are willing to alter the value of your goods on the customs declaration form so that they keep it underneath your threshold and it doesn't trigger the tax. However, keep in mind that that amount declared is usually also the amount insured. So if you're really unlucky and your item goes missing, then that's when the lowered amount will come back and bite you. But then again, I think that's your seller's liability, so I don't think that's your issue. Especially when you buy pre-loved, they'll just label the item as a used bag, used shoes. It doesn't seem like a big deal. It doesn't look suspicious. Continuing on the topic of eBay, which is used in over 30 different countries, it's interesting to note that an item listed may have completely different price ranges between countries because of the varying market demand overseas. This is what I found in 2014 with the YSL Artie ring, and again in 2016 with the iconic Dior Tribal Pearl earrings. They were generally 20 to 30% more expensive in the US market than the Australian market. My guess is that it's because of that heavy celebrity presence in America, where these items were really well marketed and really well known, while in Australia it was still rather low-key. So I'm guessing the Australian sellers had a smaller pool of interested buyers, and so they couldn't be as ambitious with the pricing, which the American sellers could be. I'm not allowed to access any other version of eBay aside from the American site, and I'm guessing that's going to be the same for a lot of you. But either way, if you can access more than one version of eBay from different countries, definitely do so, because the pricing will vary between them. When it comes to negotiating, cash is a powerful tool. It may seem bizarre, but not everyone has a PayPal account. And also PayPal does have fees which can deter small-time operators. If you have the ability to offer cash on the spot, your seller will be very interested and likely to lower the price even further. However, note that a cash payment does carry the highest risk of being left with an inauthentic purchase, and so not everyone may be comfortable with this. This is probably quite uncommon, but I did successfully negotiate a part payment and part luxury goods swap when I got my vintage Chanel jumbo for 2,500 instead of 4,500. So have a look at my Chanel video if you want to hear about that. When you're buying overseas, whether in person or online, make sure you have a suitable traveler's credit card which does not charge any foreign currency transaction fees, because that can get pretty scary if you're buying a $3,000 bag or so. Upmarket department stores generally offer new visitors an unlimited 10% off if they spend a minimum amount and they sign up for free as a member. I've only experienced this once at Harrods in London, but it has really opened my eyes to the amount of savings possible. So it's all detailed in my designer shoes review. But generally, that 10% off combined with tax back meant almost a 25% off saving. This saving can be considered as high as 40% when the full recommended retail prices of those luxury items in London is then inflated and revised to the pricing in the Australian market, which is even higher. My husband and I are headed to Paris in October this year, so I'm really excited to try this luxury shopping experience again, because I've heard that Printemps, which is the luxury store in Paris, also offers you unlimited 10% off. So we're going to bulk buy everything we wanted. The other really exciting thing about shopping at these upscale stores is that they generally offer your currency. So this means that you can use your non-traveler's credit card and gain all the points for your, $3,000, $5,000, $8,000 purchases, because there's no foreign currency transaction fees. As mentioned in my how to buy designer bags video, I have a friend in Milan who said that all the fashion outlets there can have incredible savings. So if you're headed to Milan at all, comment below and I'll put you in touch with them. My husband and I, unfortunately, even though we're going around Italy, we're going to miss that city, so I'd love to hear from you how that all goes. 4 years ago, my husband and I did this epic 70-day journey around the US and Canada together, and we managed to catch the Black Friday sales, the Christmas sales, the New Year's sales, and it definitely wasn't disappointing. So if you're a traveling shopping bargain hunter, it does make sense for you to time your holiday around major retail clearances. Of course, some brands like Chanel will never have a sale, but Coach, Michael Kors, etc. will do, so it just depends on your tastes. Like tourists, local Australians can claim the 10% tax back of any items they bought in the country at the airport when they fly overseas. The whole logic for this scheme is that you're buying these items as gifts for someone overseas, and therefore the item will never come back to Australia where the tax applies. I'm not sure if this scheme exists overseas, but it's definitely worth looking into. Not saying I've done it, but after you take the item overseas, you can very easily wear it on your body when you come in, and it's not at all easy for customs to determine if the watch you're wearing or the ring you're wearing or the bag you're holding was an item that was never meant to come back. This is especially if you ship your packaging or invoice or any other supporting documentation separately. So you're coming back on the plane, those items are on a 3-month ship slowly coming back to Sydney. So everyone, thanks so much for watching. I have not edited this video yet, so I don't know exactly how long it is, but I'm guessing it's not a short video, and I thank you for your patience in getting through it. I really hope it was useful to you, and it will help you to get the luxury items that you're interested in. For a more fun and relaxing video, please check out my collaboration with fellow YouTuber Evelyn Dehane. We're both recommending 5 favorites from our wardrobe for you. Now I have some bad news, because it's very unusual for me to release more than 1 video a month, and my reason for that is next month in June I'm traveling around South America with my bestie, so I won't be able to do any uploads. It won't be glamorous, but if you like nature and adventure, then please follow me on Instagram. Take care, and I'll see you again in July.